World War I, also known as the Great War, began in 1914 after the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria. His murder catapulted into a war across Europe that lasted until 1918. The leading causes of World War I were nationalism, imperialism, militarism, mutual defense alliances, and the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand. Many factors led up to the start of World War I in Europe. Many of these factors were rooted in the deep history of the old powers of Europe, including Russia, Germany, France, Italy, Austria, Hungary, and Britain. The natural causes of World War I included politics, secret alliances, imperialism, and nationalistic pride. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand is considered one of the critical events that led to World War I. Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria, heir presumptive to the Austro-Hungarian throne, and his wife, Sophie, Duchess of Hohenberg, were assassinated on June 28, 1914 by Bosnian Serb student Gavrilo Princip. They were shot at close range while being driven through Sarajevo, the provincial capital of Bosnia-Herzegovina, formally annexed by Austria-Hungary in 1908. Princip was part of a group of 6 Bosnian assassins coordinated by Danilo Ilic. All but one were Bosnian Serbs and members of a student revolutionary group that later became known as Young Bosnia. The political objective of the assassination was to free Bosnia and Herzegovina of Austria-Hungarian rule and establish a common South Slav/Yugoslav/ state. The assassination precipitated the July Crisis, which led to Austria-Hungary declaring war on Serbia and the start of World War I. There were many political and economic reasons for the escalation of World War I. On the political side, tensions had been brewing throughout Europe for years before the war broke out. Many alliances involving European powers, the Ottoman Empire, Russia, and other parties had existed for years. Still, political instability in the Balkans threatened to destroy these agreements. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand set off a rapidly escalating chain of events. Austria-Hungary blamed the Serbian government for the attack and hoped to use the incident as justification for settling the question of Serbian nationalism once and for all. On the economic side, imperialism played a role in polarizing the combatants. Inherent rivalries between imperialism and capitalism could be blamed for this polarization. The growth of nationalism also played a role in the escalation of the war. Economic factors played a significant role in the escalation of World War I. Economic historians stress the increasingly mechanized nature of warfare waged for years by mass forces. They emphasize the numbers of tanks, guns, ships, airplanes, and ammunition, or aggregate indices of munitions production. Before 1914, total war was impossible because people lived much closer to subsistence. Too many people were required to labor in fields and workshops just to feed and clothe the population. And it cost too much for government officials to count taxes and direct them into mass combat. All powers in 1914 expected a short war. None had made any economic preparations for a long battle, such as stockpiling food or critical raw materials. The longer the war, the more advantages went to the Allies with their more extensive, more profound, more versatile economies and better access to global supplies. The Allies had much more potential wealth they could spend on war. One estimate, using 1913 US dollars, is that the Allies spent only $1 billion on war, and Central Powers spent only $1 billion.